1848 Revolt. In this video, we'll be discussing the causes for the revolt and what are the effects of the revolt, what was the result of the 1848 revolt, what was the impact of 1848 revolt in the entire Europe, what changes came after 1848 revolt, what inspiration it gave to the other countries. Let us see all this in detail in this video. First of all, let us get into the reason why the 1848 revolt has occurred. The 1830 revolt ended up with the rule of Charles X over France, and Louis Philippe of the Orleans dynasty was placed on the French throne. So after 1830 revolt came to an end, Louis Philippe of the Orleans dynasty came to power in the French throne, or actually he was brought in as a respected king, because Charles X was not liked and is more of autocratic nature. So he did not like the democratic structure and setup. He gave his own decrees without consulting the parliament or the discussion with anybody else, and he tried to crush any kind of revolts which are raised. So then he fled to England, which we see in 1830 revolt. That is the end of 1830 revolt. Now Louis Philippe was another revolt came during his time. Now what is the responsibility of Louis Philippe for the cause of 1848 revolt? Now, Louis Philippe was a cousin of Louis XVI. He had several liberal ideas. He called himself as people's king. He wanted to be associated with the people. He owed his existence to the will of the people. He always believed that it is only the will of the people that made me to be the king, so I am popularly known as people's king. He called himself as people's king. He lived a very simple life. To an extent, he also walked in the streets of Paris and even sent his children to the public schools. Now, by this time of his regime, several political parties came into existence in France, and each one was powerful. The political parties are the Constitutionalists, the Royalists, the Republicans, and the Bonapartists. He also tried to please various political parties in France by adopting a golden mean. Maybe this is the wrong step what he did, but he tried to be good with everybody. Tried to be good with every possible political party, which he never wanted to become either autocratic or democratic. So he tried to rule like a moderate ruler, so no party would go against him, because he fundamentally believes that he is on this position as an emperor only till the power or the acceptance of the people is with him. And he tried to rule like constitutional monarch of the conservative type. He failed to change with the times, as it was this weakness of his that compelled him to abdicate the throne. He placed himself under the influence of the Constitutionalists. If you remember carefully, there are political parties, Constitutionalist, Royalist, Republican, and the Bonapartists. The Constitutionalist parties believes that their ideology is they have to have the rules in the place according to the constitution. Royalists have the old monarchic style of administration. There is a royal party. Republicans, they want to have a republican setup. When it comes to the Bonapartists, who believed that Napoleon was a good ruler, so they want Napoleon type of administration. Now, if king rules in favor of constitutionalist, king declared that he want to be a constitutional monarch. Now he got the enmity with the royalists, republicans, and Bonapartists. This is the outcome, that these political parties of royalists, republicans, and Bonapartists started to dislike him. Louis Philippe had increased the number of voters to ensure the freedom of press, extended education to the children also. In his urge to develop the industries in France, he gave a lot of patronage to the middle class, the constitutionalists. Therefore, he earned severe opposition from all the other sections of the society. Now, with the efforts of Louis Philippe, who is a cousin of late Louis XVI, he brought the dissatisfaction among the Republicans who were completely unhappy with the rules or the steps taken by Louis Philippe. Coming to the Reform Party, Thiers, a historian, was a political leader of the Reform Party. This party demanded the extension of suffrage and limitation of royal power, but Guizot, the king's minister, refused to accept any demands. Guizot was Louis Philippe's minister and he had made the French government conservative and reactionary. Guizot has run the government by means of political corruption. The conscious and the intelligent people felt disgusted with the affairs of the state and raised their voice for reforms. Now, what are the causes of the revolt? The reform banquets were organized by the dissatisfied groups of the government. The government started to take measures to ban the public banquets. Now, when people are unhappy, they start to organize themselves as groups called reform banquets. So now governments want to stop these banquets, so start to ban the public banquets. The students and the working class gone against the government, banned and participated in the banquets. Now people are angry with them, so they want to have a forum to discuss all these things. When you ban these things, that instigated more inner feeling among them that to show their anger, they started to participate in this. In this, mostly the students and the working class started to participate. The government started to send army to disrupt such banquets. Now, army opened fire, 20 lives, and causing injuries to more than 30 people. Now, on hearing to this atrocity, people got much more anger. The dead bodies of those who were killed in the army attack were taken in public possession in the streets of Paris by the revolutionaries. Now the National Army, which has to suppress the revolutionaries, joined the hands with the revolutionaries. Now, not finding of any other alternative, Louis Philippe has to abdicate the throne and fled away to England. In 1848, the revolutionaries took control of France and abolished monarchy and announced the republic under the leadership of Louis Blanc. What are the results of 1848 revolt? As a result of 1848 revolt, monarchy was abolished in France. That is the first one. The revolt in France led to the growth of national consciousness not only in France but in Italy and Germany, which later paid for their unification. All the supporters of Metternich and royalists were made to step down, third step, and for the first time the working class led revolts in France and Italy. It also paved way for the proletarian and socialist revolutionaries in Europe. Now, as the results of 1848, monarchy was abolished. The revolt was led to the consciousness of national awareness in Italy and Germany, which later they fought for the unification of Italy and Germany. All the supporters of Metternich and the royalists were made to step down, and step 4, for the first time in France, the working class led the revolt, and later it paved way for the proletarian and the socialist revolutions in Europe. What about its influence in the other parts of the European continent? In Austria, the 1848 revolt had its impact very deeply. At Vienna, the capital of Austria, students and the working class had assembled before the royal palace at the residence of Metternich and made demonstrations and even destroyed his residence. Having learnt about the revolution, the support for the National Army, Metternich made a secret escape with his family to England. After Metternich left Austria, Ferdinand I, the Emperor of Austria, introduced certain liberal, political, social and religious rights to the people. A liberal government was now established in Bohemia, and the Emperor of Austria, Ferdinand, has accepted these changes. These are changes which happened in Austria. Now moving on to find out what happened in Hungary. In Hungary, the leadership of Kossuth revolted and tried to free themselves from Austria, but due to lack of unity among the racial people in the Hungary, they did not succeed in getting liberated. Austria, with the help of Russia, suppressed the revolt and Kossuth left the country. It's the impact on Austria and Hungary. Now moving on to Italy. What was the impact of 1848 revolt in Italy? Italy remained disunited with small states which constantly had disputes with one another. With the Napoleonic War of conquests and reforms, for the first time, Italians were brought under political unity, which is known as a Cisalpine Republic. But with the fall of Napoleon, the Italians hoped to establish united independent Italy. But their hopes were not taken into consideration by the Congress of Vienna, and Italy was divided into 5 small states of Venetia, Lombardy, Parma, Modena and Tuscany. States of Parma, Modena and Tuscany were restored to Habsburg family, while Venetia and Lombardy were put under Austrian control. So the 1848 revolt had its impact in Austria, had its impact in Hungary, had its impact in Italy also. Now what are the effects of 1848 revolution? In February, the patriotic Italians of Milan and Lombardy rose in revolt against the Austrian army. Venetians tried to free themselves from the Austrian yoke with the help of the Sardian king Charles Albert. The nationalists of Parma, Modena and Lombardy also joined the Sardian army and declared war against Austria. In this war, Charles Albert got defeated in the hands of Austria, and once again the northern states of Italy went under the hands of Austrian ruler. So on hearing to the outbreak of the revolution in France in 1848, all over Germany excitement ran high and people forced their rulers to grant constitutional reforms. In German region, the large number of political associations whose members were middle class professionals, businessmen and prosperous artisans came together in the city of Frankfurt and decided to vote for an all-general National Assembly. On 18th of May 1848, 831 elected representatives marched in a festive procession to take their places in the Frankfurt Parliament, convened in the Church of St. Paul. They drafted a constitution for the German nation to be headed by a monarchy subjected to a parliament. Here, they want to bring a change where the monarch will be under the control of the parliament and parliament will be the supreme commander of the entire country. When the deputies offered the crown to Frederick William IV, the King of Prussia, he rejected it and joined other monarchs to oppose the elected assembly. While the opposition to aristocracy, military became stronger, the social basis of parliament eroded. The parliament was dominated by middle classes, who even resisted the demands of workers, and the artisans consequently lost their support. In the end, troops were called in. The assembly was forced to disband. The issue of extending political rights to women was controversial one in the liberal movement, in which a large number of women had participated actively over the years. Women had formed their own political associations, founded newspapers, taken part in political meetings and demonstrations. Despite this, they were denied the suffrage during the elections of assembly. Though the conservative forces were able to suppress the liberal movements in 1848, they could not restore the old order. Monarchs were beginning to realize that the cycles of revolution and repression could only be ended by granting concessions to the liberal nationalists. Hence, in the years after 1848, the autocratic monarchies of Central and the Eastern European began to introduce changes that have already been taken place in Western Europe after 1857. The system of ideas which the ideology they believed started to change after the 1848 revolt. They formed a new constitution, new changes, new rights are given to the people. So these are the causes, effects, results of 1848 revolt.